All right. Hello to everyone. Thank you so much for checking out the show. I do appreciate it. I'm here with my favorite restaurateur. Restaurateur? Am I saying that right?
I think so. Restaurateur, something like that.
All right. Okay. My favorite one. My favorite person here. Lindsay Ryan. Hello to
Hi,
you.
everybody. Hello.
I gotta say that I'm very upset because this is your second podcast and you didn't do the first one with me. I'm really upset about that. So just so you know.
You know what? I'm really sorry. It was kind of one of those situations where it fell into my lap and I had to take it.
All right. Okay. All right. I'll forgive you this time.
All right.
So thank you so much for joining me on this podcast. I really, really appreciate it. Not often, but I do sometimes ask that people send me some money for some lunch. You know, I take my time out of my busy schedule to do this. And I do ask for sometimes some donations to send me for some lunch. And then I come and spend it with you. So I appreciate them buying me lunch. So when I go to lunch, this is the primary lady who I go to. So if you would take a moment to tell us about yourself.
Yeah. So my name is Lindsay. I am originally from Waterbury, Connecticut, and I currently live in Hamden now. I'm co-owner of the Blender Bar in Cheshire, which is a juice bar and health food eatery. And I'm really into just health and wellness and just being the best version of yourself.
Very good. Very good. So I was telling you before we went live that I started this podcast to talk about my completion of my doctorate. Nobody was listening to that. Nobody cared. And then I started talking about men's improvement, self-improvement, and things along those lines. And got a little bit more of an audience. But then the ladies came and started asking me questions about relationship, and now that's what I'm talking about. So here we are. So what has been your progression into this particular space? I know we first met. You told me, you used to work in academia or something along those lines. So tell us how you got into this health and wellness type of thing.
Yeah, sure. So I did the whole college thing. I got my master's. I thought counseling was the way to go for me. And it was great. So I did work at a couple universities in Connecticut. I did recruitment. I did a little adjunct teaching, and I did love it. But my life shifted at some point, and I found this world of health and wellness. I started being active and just eating really clean, and I lost almost 100 pounds in the course of a few years. And sitting at a desk, I didn't feel like it served me anymore. Where I was at the time at a university, our department underwent a complete restructuring where we were forced to reapply for our jobs. It was a rough situation. Definitely, I feel like I felt super undervalued for how hard I worked. And I just kind of thought there has to be more to life somewhere. So I quit. Like I said, it wasn't serving me anymore. I had a long long-time job in the restaurant industry. So I was fortunate enough to be able to go back to that, to bartend a little bit. I traveled and just kind of really found myself. I found where I wanted to be. And that wasn't in a 9 to 5, just sitting all day. I wanted to be active. I wanted to do something that, I was helping other people that were having the same struggles that I had. Fast forward, I was talking to one of my longtime friends, really, she's family, and she is co-owner of the Blender Bar with me. She had kind of a similar story, and we just discussed how it was really difficult to find a healthy place to go after the gym or on the way to work. We didn't want fast food. We didn't want a deli sandwich. We wanted something that was fresh, that was whole food, a protein shake, something like that. And we said, let's try it. Let's see what we could do. And, we founded the Blender Bar, and here we are 5 years later. We just hit 5 years this past Monday.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
I can definitely resonate with wanting something different. You're right. You feel unappreciated when you have to reapply for your job. And when there's a change in management, I definitely can resonate with that. I was in internal affairs in the PD for a little while, and then there was a new chief who came along. I'm friends with him. I don't know if he's going to listen, but I'm friends with him. But it really stings when they make everybody, all the department heads, not department heads, but all the division heads, reapply for their jobs. You feel like, what is this?
Yeah, I've been doing a great job this whole time. Why do I have to reapply?
Right. So that really kind of stings. So let's see here. I'm going to say hello to some people. Hello to LaRondra Jones Bates. Hello. Hello to New York Chocolate. Rhonda says hello, Dr. L and Lindsay.
Hello, good morning.
And she also mandates she's my make sure that people hit the like button person. So
love that.
Good afternoon to More with Less.
Hello.
Dr. L and Lindsay saying hello to each other. Yoli, hello. Yoli's coming on fairly soon. We're going to talk about economics.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so we're going to talk about saving money and making good financial decisions and stuff like that. So I'm putting you on blast there, Yoli. You're coming on.
Yeah.
More with Less. Garrett saying hello, salute. Let's see. Yeah, Yoli says 100 pounds. Wow. Yeah, we definitely want to dig into that a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're saying that's amazing.
Thank you.
That's amazing. Yep. Congratulations. Let's see. Congrats on 5 years. Congrats on your milestone. Hello to glorious love. Enjoying my day off. Let's see. I just heard economics talk. Wait, what? Yeah, when? I think next week, Garrett. Yeah, listen, I'm trying to broaden my horizons and stop talking about relationships so much here. So we gotta have other stuff that's going on.
Absolutely.
Oh, and speaking of what's that?
No, I said absolutely. That's important too.
Speaking of relationships, Lindsay just got engaged. Congratulations to you. Congratulations to you. Bala Hall, Bala Hall. What's up to you? Lamar. Okay, cool. Absolutely. It was a good show you guys had last night. Appreciate you showing up there, Bala, Lamar. Tell us about the 100-pound journey there. How long did it take for you to lose that?
It was a slow process. It was, like a 3 to 4 year process for the whole. It was 97 pounds that was the max. And it wasn't a linear process, which I don't think anything really is. And it started in Puerto Rico. I was in Puerto Rico back in 2013, 14, with my best friend and her family, and her parents were renewing their vows. This is a longtime friend. I was part of her family, and her parents wanted us to wear all white. At that time, I was so overweight that I wasn't able to shop just at any store. I needed to shop somewhere that had plus sizes. And, my best friend at the time, was not, or my best friend, she still is, was not overweight. And it was really easy for her to walk into a store and find something that was all white. And I just remember I struggled so much, and I ended up with this outfit that was awful. I looked like I was an 89-year-old Spanish grandmother in Puerto Rico, going to this church, and I was miserable, and I was sad, and I was suffering from sleep apnea and, other things that go along with being overweight. And I was fed up. I was absolutely fed up, and I started with a 10-day cleanse, which was pretty much just eating whole foods, right? Like cutting out all of the processed junk and just really focusing on protein and raw vegetables and fruit and nuts and things like that. And I didn't even exercise. I just, changed the eating habit for the 10 days. And I lost 13 pounds. It was such
in 10
yeah,
days.
in 10 days, because I was so unhealthy. I was so unhealthy that it was just all of the toxins coming out of my body. And my body wasn't used to, drinking a gallon of water a day and focusing on fiber and the things that, we should be focusing on. And that 10 days turned into 21 days. I continued this cleanse that I was doing. And I think, I don't remember. I remember the 13 pounds. I think I ended up losing maybe like 20 pounds in the 21 days. And it was life-changing, just that 20 pounds. I felt free. I felt like a feeling that I had never felt before. And, I started exercising. I started doing Zumba classes with a couple of my friends back then. And it just kind of progressed through that. I started getting really into weightlifting. I tried CrossFit for a while. I was a little too uncoordinated for that. If my coach, who I still know to this day, is listening to this, he'll tell you that he could not teach me half of those things because I didn't understand. So I moved on to weightlifting and just walking. And sweet tea, you haven't had soda in 16 years. So that was huge. I stopped soda. I cut out soda. I would drink, I think, like 4 to 5 cans of Diet Coke a day, which is awful. And I was obsessed. I became obsessed. I stopped drinking. I had to change my social life for a while because I had goals and that was what I was focusing on. And all of these milestones that I hit, I call them the non-scale victories. So obviously we're excited. We lose 20 pounds, 30 pounds, 40 pounds, 50 pounds, but it was small things for me that really motivated me to keep doing more. It was being able to shop at Marshall's, which I wasn't able to do. It was, at this point I was in my 20s. So, I was able to shop at Forever 21 or just things that my friends did that I was not able to do. And it just, I kept going, and it just became eventually my life. It wasn't just a diet. It wasn't just a cleanse. It was the way that I lived my life. It was my new lifestyle.
Yeah, the questions are kind of going crazy here. I wanted to try to dig into this motivation thing.
Yeah.
I don't know if I told you, I can't remember who I tell, but I had a triple bypass, and that really kind of was a wake up moment for me.
Yep.
And you had your wake up moment. Do you know anyone else who had a sort or whether it's a medical emergency or just feeling miserable and just sick of themselves? Do you know anyone else who's had those same type of wake up moments?
Yeah. So the great thing about social media is being able to connect with people that are like-minded. And I found a community of people that weren't even from my area. They were from all over. I talked to somebody in Canada that I still talk to this day. And this is, 10 years ago now, that had a similar situation. Females that were at the gym that literally watched me get smaller and smaller that had said, you're motivating to me, which made me more motivated. But I think it's important that no matter what you're doing, that you find a support network of like-minded people, because I think that that's kind of what keeps you going.
Very good. You talked about now there's a difference between health and wellness. Can you expand upon that for us?
Yeah, so they go hand in hand. I think that wellness is the umbrella. And I think that health kind of falls under that. I think health, happiness, success all falls under wellness, right? It's a broad spectrum. So wellness could be physical health, wellness could be mental health. I think those are kind of the two main things under that umbrella, and it's just really focusing on the things that not only make you happy but make you healthy. So wellness could be self-care. Wellness could be making sure that you're living in a positive environment, that you're surrounding yourself with positive people. Wellness can be making sure that you're happy in the job that you go to every day. I realized that I wasn't happy going to work anymore. I wasn't happy, and I needed to make the change. So when I got up in the morning, I wasn't like, oh, I have to do this again. I, created an environment where I'm like, yes, I get to go to work. I love the people that work for me. Let's do this. So I think that wellness just kind of embodies your whole life. It's every aspect of your life. Where health is your physical health. It's making sure that you're seeing the doctor, that you are eating the right foods, that you're treating your body right.
Very good. Yeah. No, I definitely agree, and you definitely explained that well. And I wanted to tie that in with the wellness aspect to it, to what you were dealing with on the job. Some of us are not able to do exactly what you did, and they need to live this wellness lifestyle as well. And for me, my wellness was once I completed, my audience has heard this before, but once I completed my doctorate, I'm literally doing an adjunct professor thing like you, and this university was great. They used to give us lunch. I'm like, okay, I teach. I go to work and teach. Finish by 12:50 or so, and I go grab some lunch, and then I'm out the door. They stop me while I'm actually sitting there. They're like, hey, we heard you got your doctorate. We got this job opening for you. So I'm like, all right. So I took it, but after a while, I'm just like, I can't do this. I've been free, retired life, and my mental health and my business was kicking off, and all this other stuff was going on. But other people don't have that type of luxury to leave, like you and I did. So how do people maintain their health and wellness while going to work? I know this is one of the questions I sent to you. I told you I shoot from the hip here, but how would you suggest people do that?
Yeah. So no, not everyone will be an entrepreneur, right? It's not for everybody. I have friends that are very happy in their jobs, and they're very good at their jobs, and they are maintaining their career happiness. But you have to do what you want to do. You have to be somewhere where you're appreciated. So if we're just talking about the career aspect, I have a friend, she's a social worker, and she is great at her job, and she works in a place that values her. She knows that all of the people that are above her, she grew up there, they take care of her, they love her. She always has great reviews. She has a lot of support. That's important. So if somebody is at a job where they're underappreciated, now it's not easy, but I mean, you just kind of have to find a place that you're going to be happy, because if you wake up and you're miserable and that's where you're spending 8 hours, wellness is going to be a really, really hard journey for you, a really hard journey, because you can be physically healthy, but if you're not mentally healthy, you're not really healthy.
Now, continuing the same line of thought there about going to work, I would assume that you do you help people with that type of journey? Maybe meal planning. I mean, everybody can't go to the blender bar, so people might, they have to bring lunch. Do you recommend they meal plan or prep, or did you do any of that? And what about walking, taking the stairs? Would that work inside the elevator? What do you suggest about all that?
Yeah, so the walking thing, I'll start with that. My fiance is like, "Why do you always park in the last possible spot in the parking lot?" And I'm like, "Because get your steps in. Why not? Take the stairs instead of the elevator. If you have 10 minutes, take a walk around the building." So even if you are at a desk, because again, not everyone is going to live the same lifestyle as you and I, but if you are sitting in a cubicle, get up and take a walk down the hallway, back. The steps add up, because if, we're supposed to hit the 10,000 steps, right? And we can talk about that later. It's so easy to do if you just take the time to do it. So it is the little things. Go to Stop and Shop, or, wherever you guys grocery shop, and park in the back of the parking lot, and just take the extra 100 steps that it may take to get to the door. I think that it could really make a difference. When I started my journey, I think that's why I dropped weight so quick, because my body was not used to movement. It wasn't used to parking in the back of the parking lot or taking the stairs. I was always taking the elevator or parking as close to the door as I could. Those were little changes for me that really made a huge difference. And as far as meal planning, I've dabbled in helping people before. I'm experienced, but I'm not a professional. I don't have a degree in it. So I don't do it through the blender bar now, but I have helped people in the past that have said, like, "Well, what did you do?" Because I think that anyone in a journey of wanting to lose weight or get healthy, I think being prepared is one of the major key players in that. If you're not prepared, it's going to be a really hard journey for you.
Very good. I want to get to some of these questions here, but somebody had a question about Garrett. He's got plenty of questions here. What are the effects of celery juice? And I've heard people say uh, just eat the celery to get the fiber in. Is there a
Yep.
difference between juicing and eating healthy? Can you explain that?
Yeah. So juicing does remove the fiber from the fruits and vegetables. So a lot of people who are who are focused on fiber, it's probably not the best option, right? But when you juice, you're still getting all of the nutrients, the key nutrients from the fruits and vegetables. So somebody that maybe doesn't like eating celery or doesn't like eating vegetables, it's much easier to drink a juice and just kind of get it down, and you're getting what you could eat in a couple meals in like a 16-ounce bottle of juice. Celery juice on its own is very cleansing. If people are interested in celery juice, you're supposed to drink it first thing in the morning on an empty stomach. It really detoxifies and cleanses you. You can kind of add a little bit of lemon to cut the bitterness of the taste of celery. A lot of people don't like the taste. And the interesting thing about juicing celery is it loses a lot of its nutrients if it sits. So for anyone that is a celery juice drinker, I always suggest to only make batches in 2-day increments, because whereas other juices are able to sit for 5 days because of the weight of the fruit, the celery juice kind of loses its value quicker than other juices. But it's really good for you.
There's how would you deal with the confusion? Because you said drink celery juice in the morning. I've heard drink 8 ounces of glass of water immediately. I've heard drink pomegranate juice. I've heard drink beet juice. I mean, all these different things that are out here first thing in the morning. What should we be doing in your estimation? All of it.
So So yes, always start with water. That's the most important thing. Start with water, because you are sleeping hopefully for 7 to 8 hours a night, right? So you're not ingesting anything. So your body is going to be more dehydrated. So we want to hydrate in the morning, right? It's part of, your skin is going to be better, you'll feel better, and you're again flushing out toxins. So like personally, I drink a little lemon water in the morning before I do anything. Even if I am juicing, I'm lucky that I'm around juices all the time, so I'm kind of able to grab them whenever I want. But if I am in a state where I'm like, okay, I'm drinking a green juice in the morning, I do water and then the green juice, and that's before anything else.
Okay. How difficult is it to high vice point here to stop the sugars, extra sugars?
It's hard. It's really hard. And your body, you can feel the detox. I mean, if when I originally did this, I remember the headache that I had for almost a solid week from cutting out. I mean, I was cutting out caffeine, but keep in mind I was drinking 500-calorie Starbucks drinks in the morning. So I mean, I cut that out and all the sugars, and your body really goes through a change. But if you can get through that change, it's so worth it because you feel more focused. So I went on vacation for about a week, and I enjoy vacation. I'm a foodie. I do like to eat. I think there's a time and a place for everything, and balance is important. But I spent the last week doing a sugar detox. And even for me that eats, healthy 80% of the time, it still was rough for the first couple days, but it's just important to hydrate, just to drink water.
Very good. You mentioned detox a few times. Garrett's asking, what consists of a detox to you? How important is it for the body, and how often should people be doing it?
Yeah, so I think that there are different things that you can do to detox your body. I think that people freak out when they hear the word detox, but I'm considering myself detoxing my body right now. And what that means is for the past 5 days, I have not drank anything but water or matcha. I cut out all alcohol. I cut out any kind of like heavy carb. I've been doing all whole foods, nothing processed. So in my mind, I'm detoxing my body right now. When you are a person that eats whatever, so you eat a ton of processed sugars and fried foods, those things attach to your intestines, and I think it's, don't quote me guys, but I think it's 21 days to get all of that junk out of your system. So, it depends, I guess, what your goals are and what you want to detox. But I think mainly what it is just getting that, out of your body. So people do juice detoxes. We sell them at the Blender Bar. I never market it as something for weight loss, ever. You can drink juices for 5 days and absolutely lose weight. You're losing water weight. You're losing weight from, again, all of the toxins that are attached to your intestines. I call it a jump start. I call it boosting your immune system, boosting your mental health, because, you drink a beet juice, it helps your brain and it helps your focus. So detox is, I feel like it's a really broad word, and it really just depends on what you're looking to do. How long people, or how often people should do it, I think it depends on your lifestyle, honestly. For somebody like me that, I believe in the 80-20 rule, eating healthy 80% of the time and then balancing and being able to have fun. So I personally do a detox like this every few months just to kind of reset my system.
Very good. Yoli says, and I'm going to combine these next two questions here. She struggles with water use. What would you say to someone who struggles with drinking enough water and struggling with processed foods, right? They just love their processed ham or processed chicken bologna sandwiches or whatever. How would you advise these people to get over that?
So water, I think that you can do a couple things. I wish I had my bottle here, but I know that my specific water bottle, I need to fill that 3 times a day. So I'm like a little under a gallon of water as long as I drink all 3 of those bottles. I try to drink one by 9 a.m. I try to drink my next one by 2, and then the next one by the time I go to bed. Um, I have to structure it that way or I won't drink water. Still after all these years, I really need to focus. I know, in the morning I drink 16 ounces of water. So 16 ounces is immediately out of the way. So I think that's a good way, to do it. Yeah, I think it's just being, you have to not be strict, but you have to be, I can't think of the word that I want to use, but you really just have to focus on your goal of drinking water. But I think that sometimes it's hard. I struggle sometimes with it too. Processed food, I could go on a whole spiral. If you guys research what seed oils can do to your body, um, seed oils or any kind of like canola oil, sunflower seed oil, anything like that, it is literally in everything that is processed. They are inflammatory agents, and if your body is inflamed and you're looking to lose weight, or if you're looking to just generally have a consistently healthy lifestyle, that's what will stop you from doing so. And how do you do it? You just have to want it. If you want it bad enough, then you will do it. And there are a few brands of things out there that don't have them. If you're a chip lover, there's a brand called Siete. They only use avocado oil for their chips. Like Boulder Canyon is another one. If you love crackers or something like that, Simple Mills is a great brand. But if you're looking at the back of packages of, cookies, crackers, chips, whatever, and there's a list this long of ingredients and you can't pronounce half of them, please don't eat it, guys. It's bad. It's awful. It's really, really bad. You want to be able to know what is in everything that you're eating.
So when I made my transition to the whole food plant-based diet, I said if you're reading packages, that's the first thing. You really shouldn't be reading anything, So try not to eat things that you don't have to read. I did not know that about the different. I have a big problem with chips. That's that is my crack. So you should have told me about those new brands. There, I might have to go research them now.
Yeah, they're really good. They're good too. Sometimes when you switch, you do have to, your taste buds have to get used to things, because, I'll give him a chip to try and he's like, this doesn't taste like Lay's. Well, it's not Lay's because it's not loaded with all the crap that Lay's is loaded with. But once you get used to it, you're like, okay, I could do this. It's not that bad.
Now, there's some people here. I'm going to combine these next two questions here. Rhonda works from home. So she does what she does to get her steps in. And some people will struggle with meal planning, whether going to work or just eating at home. How would you help those people who are struggling at home?
So again, guys, like you have to be motivated and you have to set up your day. When I first started my journey, I was living in Waterbury. I had to be at work in New Haven at 8:30. I woke up at 4:30 in the morning, which was god awful, but it was the only time I was able to get my steps in and work out. So I made sure that I was walking 2 miles in the morning, and then I was getting my lift in, and then I went about my day after that. I made sure that I was in bed early, that I was getting enough sleep. That way, when you wake up in the morning, you're ready to go on about your day. For the people that work super early, then you have to do the same thing when you get out of work. That may be bringing your clothes to work. So that right after work, you're going to hit the gym or you're going to hit the trail. But it's making the time for it, and it's important. In meal planning, I just had this conversation, with one of my friends, and actually I just had this conversation with my trainer, because she was saying that her husband kind of struggles to be as healthy as her. And I said, take an hour or two on a Sunday and you guys do it together. Prep, whatever you eat, if it's chicken or, ground turkey or fish, make sure that you go grocery shopping and that you're set for the week. you know, that you're washing your fruit, and you could put it in a mason jar, which is going to make it last longer, and really just being prepared. It's all about being prepared and knowing that, okay, on Sundays from 5 to 7, that's when I'm going to do my meal prep. I'm not going to scroll on social media. I'm not going to go out drinking. I'm not going to, you know, do whatever. That is your meal prep time.
Good advice. Good advice. High Vibe is saying grass shots. I didn't even heard of that. I mean, what is a grass shot? Do you know what?
Yeah, wheatgrass. So honestly, we've never done wheatgrass at the blender bar. I have heard that it is really good for you. I'm assuming because it's another it's a green root, that it's also detoxifying, but I don't want to make something up. I do hear they're good for you. I just personally don't have any experience with them.
Very good. Given the toxins, diseases everywhere, what are your are there different types of detox? I put pumpkin seeds in my oatmeal every morning. Pumpkin seeds. I haven't done dandelion, nettle, cilantro. I do eat cilantro, basil. Any of this sound familiar to you, to get rid of heavy metals and all that?
Yeah, pumpkin seeds, pumpkin. So I make the salad, and you know, you could put whatever you want in there, but what I include is pumpkin seeds, apple, and sweet potato. The combination of the three of those are supposed to be really good to get rid of heavy metals. Dandelion also, which you can get in a tea. And that's another thing, you know, if you're going to try to drink like a dandelion tea, don't load it with sugar, don't put milk in it, just, you know, drink the tea. You get used to it, you know, but yeah, dandelion root is also really good for you. If people have juicers at home, it could also be added to a juice. So yeah, as far as the basil and cilantro, I think that being able to cook with any fresh herb, you'll always have a benefit, you know, of adding that.
Did you work with a nutritionist, or you just and you work with a personal trainer now or before? Or how did that work out?
I've dabbled in personal training. When I first started, I did it myself. For the first couple years, I just did the research. I did the research, and you know, people say, like, you know, the KISS rule, keep it simple, stupid. Just eat healthy, like just focus on the whole foods. You know, if you eat, you know, you and I, Lawrence, we've talked about dairy before, right? Like if you eat dairy and it doesn't agree with you, but you love it, don't eat it. It doesn't matter if you love it. If you're not treating your body right. So you really have to be honest with yourself, you know, when it comes to things like that. But yeah.
I technically have allergies, and my son has allergies.
Yep.
And every spring he's, you know, honking and blowing his nose and eyes are running. He's like, Dad, what's up? I stopped eating dairy. I told you this a long time ago, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't have any activation. And listen, I used to have it really bad every spring. Every spring until I stopped, I was having those reactions because it's inflammatory. It's telling your cells, the
Yeah.
dairy is telling your cells it needs to grow. And so it's causing this mucus, all this other stuff, right? So once I gave that up, I have no issues. No issues. So yeah.
Yeah, I have a friend actually who I worked with that suffered from really bad acne. I mean, really, really bad. And she went to a dermatologist, and the dermatologist said, I'll give you two options. I can immediately put you on acne medicine, or stop eating dairy for 30 days and come back. And I swear to you, in 30 days, her skin was like 50% better. It was insane. She could not believe it. And that had to be like 7 years ago. And still to this day, if she kind of falls off a little bit and starts eating dairy, she can, and even people that are close to her can immediately tell, because she'll break out from it. It's not good for you.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's sad because so many people still continue to do it. It's meant for it's baby cow food.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
So you go on vacation a lot, the food in different places. That's why I want to leave the U.S. That's why I told you before when I was traveling. That's why I want to leave. Can you speak to that a little bit? How the food is so much different?
Yes, I would love to. I talk about this all the time. First of all, I love Europe. I've been to a few different places in Europe, and it is one of my favorite like continents to go when I travel because the food is so much different. I went to Spain last year. I ate cheese in Spain and amazing. I had no side effects from it. When I go to many countries, I end up coming back lighter than I was going there. And obviously you're vacationing, so you're going to eat, you're going to have fun, but the United States, they just I hope that at one time they will come to terms with what they're doing to us. But Europe is so far ahead of times when it comes to food and what they won't put in their food. So that's why a lot of people say, yeah, no, I went to Italy and I ate pizza, but here I have a gluten allergy, and I'm like, immediately they get sick from eating pizza here. And then, in Italy, they're fine.
Let's see. Garrett's got a lot of advice here. Try switching to goat yogurt, or even better, sheep yogurt. Also, goat milk, higher benefits. Have you heard of any of that? Goat. I know people drink goat milk, but goat yogurt, sheep yogurt.
Yeah, so a lot of people that have dairy allergies, so like for me, I can eat goat cheese. It doesn't bother me. I only eat it, once in a while because it is still some kind of dairy. But a lot of people are allergic to cow's milk. So so yeah, I think that goat's milk doesn't have the same effect on people that have dairy allergies.
No, more with less is bringing up a good point here. Talking about family reunions, and I'm going to stick in here. You going out with your friends to restaurants. How do you navigate that? When you're in social settings, maybe they're bringing a big, bunch of muffins at work or something like that. How do you navigate that kind of thing?
I'm going to give two answers for this. I think it depends on where you are in your journey. When I first started my journey, I went many places and I didn't eat. I ate before I went. I brought my own food. I kind of picked through what they had, depending on what it was. But it goes back to always being prepared. If you're going to a birthday party and they're going to have pizza and cake, eat before you get there. So you're not hungry. And I think that it's really difficult to do. I'm not saying that it's easy. It's easier for me because I can't eat pizza now, but back when I could, you just have to have the self-discipline to not eat it. However, I do feel that that balance is important. The more we keep ourselves and deprive ourselves of things, the more you're going to want to binge. So I think that it's important to be able to have a cheat meal once in a while or to eat pizza once in a while. But you don't need to eat pizza every week. You definitely don't need to eat it multiple times a week. And that's kind of the same with like fries and burgers and soda and things like that. I love a birch beer every once in a while. It's the only soda I'll drink. It's probably every 6 months, that I crave one and I'll have it, but I'm only having it once every 6 months and it's probably followed by a lot of water.
All right, so let's get into you started your journey and then you started your company. Let's
Mhm.
talk about the entrepreneur thing. So has that been very how did you start that off? Do a lot of research, you and your friend there? How'd you guys start that off?
Yeah, so we did a lot of research. We met with somebody from or talked to somebody from the SBA, and there's multiple groups out there that, especially to help women that want to start businesses. So we wrote a business plan. We wrote a business plan and kind of listed everything that we wanted. We sat at multiple places that are like the Blender Bar to just kind of gather information, what kind of people are coming in, what's working, what's not working, what's good, what's not good. It was a solid year, I think, of research before we really said, okay, let's do this, because we wanted to be prepared. So 2018 was when we did the research. And 2019 is when we really put the research into in motion. And that's when we kind of started everything.
Very good. Were you nervous and all that?
Oh yeah. Yep. I mean, listen, I quit my job. I quit my career. So listen, I have student loans. I did a lot of years of college. I went for my master's. So everybody, for the most part, was like, what do you mean you're quitting your job? You're going to open a business? I felt like people, not that they didn't believe in me, but I felt like they were trying to be realistic, knowing that it was going to be really rough. I was pretty much risking everything. My humility, my money. I cleaned out pretty much everything that I had, and to be able to put into this. And, thankfully I have a business partner and we were doing it together. So we're a great sense of support for each other. And we were like, okay, we're really going to do this. But yeah, absolutely. It's scary. It's scary. You're putting your whole life on the line. You're risking everything. If God forbid, this didn't work out, which, you always think about. 5 years later, I still think about it. And I'm like, what would I do? I could never go back to working for somebody. So, I think that if you have, I call Blender Bar a passion project. It was a passion project turned into my life. And, I always tell people, if you have that, go for it, because you could fail. It could happen, but you could also succeed. And thankfully, we're succeeding. But if we didn't try, we would never know.
Listen, when you said you could never go back to working for somebody else.
Ever.
I listen, that resonates. I'm telling you right now, when I was going on vacation, I had a vacation planned. And my boss at the time, he's like, listen, you gotta tell us that you're going on vacation. You gotta ask me if you're going on vacation, and I gotta approve it. Oh no. That ain't gonna work. I did that for 24 years in the PD, and nobody's gonna tell me now. I don't think I was 50 at the time, but I was about to turn 50. You're not gonna tell me that. So yeah, but you get spoiled. You definitely get spoiled. So I definitely can appreciate going after your passions and going after your your dreams. And the worst things that can happen is you fail. But the bigger thing is that you have an education that you can go back on, if something happens. So, and really, to me, education is really just learning how to learn, right? You know how to figure things out. The business plan that you laid out, the spying that you were doing. I know you didn't call it spying, but I'm saying you're spying. So but you understood how to navigate, and that's the biggest thing that people should take away from education is learning how to learn. So, and you're expanding, right? So you're expanding.
I am. We are expanding. I am so excited. So we are expanding. We don't have a definitive open date, but it will be the fall of this year. We should be getting the keys to our second location next week. And then we have to do our build out inside. So we're hoping for sometime in September. But yeah, we're expanding and we're super excited.
And I asked you a good question before we came live, right? So I would say the new place that you're going to do is within a mile or two of the old place. And why? Tell us your thought process about why you made them so close together.
Yeah, so I'll start with, so the Blender Bar is in Cheshire. Cheshire is, I guess we could say, between Hartford and New Haven, if anyone's not from the area, but we chose a spot that had a lot of pizza places. That was kind of the joke, like when we opened in Cheshire, and we did open right when COVID started, which was another really interesting, it was an interesting time for everybody. But we chose a place that didn't have things like the Blender Bar. There was no quick place for lunch and whatnot. So, we chose a great community. And we found out that there was a new luxury shopping plaza being built that had the main headliner was Whole Foods, which is so exciting that we're getting a Whole Foods in Cheshire. But
Yeah, I don't got to drive to West Hartford anymore. Yeah.
exactly. It's so exciting. And I'm going to work right next to it. So that's even more exciting for me. But yeah, so they were building this new luxury plaza, and there's all this really cool stuff in there. There's a condo complex. I think there's a hotel going in somewhere near it, but like a Barnes and Noble and a Sephora and so on and so forth. And it is only 2 miles down the road. But what I said to Jana, my business partner, I said, if we don't open there, somebody else will. That's like the Blender Bar. And why wouldn't we want to lock down the area? I mean, the foot traffic is going to be insane. With people are literally living in the plaza. So, I think there is about 150 apartment units right there. But the foot traffic from all the awesome stores that are going in there is going to bring us, a lot of new customers. We're right on the Cheshire Southington line. So it kind of opens us up to a new community in Southington also. And people have also asked, why aren't you just opening there and then getting rid of the old location? I don't know if anyone has been on Route 10, but it's kind of a traffic jam, and I'm assuming that it's just going to get worse. So people were really concerned that we're coming from the opposite end of Cheshire, that they weren't going to make it in time, if they have a half-hour lunch break or something like that. And the response was overwhelming of people saying, please don't close this location. We need you. So we said, yeah, we're just, we're going to have to.
Very good. Very good. Let's see here. That's a great tip. That may not be for us. Is there any difference? They're still talking about this goat milk stuff here. Should humans be consuming? Somebody else asked this. Should humans be consuming animal milk after they've grown adults? I mean,
again, guys, I'm not a professional. This is just my opinion. Milk is. Do I drink milk? No, I don't believe in drinking milk, but I have a friend that is very into drinking raw milk, like whole milk. I think that if you are a milk drinker, making sure that you're getting it from a source that is raw, right? If you go buy milk in the grocery store, there's stuff in it, there's fillers in it. So you want to make sure that you're drinking, or eating the most raw version of whatever it is. I've talked to plenty of people that have read studies that said, like you said, that you shouldn't be consuming milk, as a grown adult. Other people will argue that it's good for your bones and it's high in calcium. I just feel like you can get that in other ways. So I don't think that if somebody is drinking raw milk, that it's a bad thing. It's just not personally for me.
very good. Take us through your exercise routine and how often you go and all that kind of stuff.
Sure. So movement is really important. So I think that exercise is another broad term. Walking is really important to me, not only for my physical health, but for my mental health. I believe in getting sunlight on your face. I believe that a organic source of vitamin D is really important. And sometimes 10 minutes is all we need, but whether you're male, female, young, old, I think it makes a huge difference. So as far as exercise, I think that walking is one of the best things for you. I think that there are studies that show that, like, you live longer, instead of running, where running is so hard on your body or hard on your knees, just being able to walk and like clear your mind and really get, your steps in. I think that's one of the most important things. I know that exercising is not for everybody, but I think that it's important to do. It's good for your heart health. It's good for your body overall. I personally like lifting weights. I think that for me, my body responds really well to it. Um, the older we get, high intensity workouts are not great, especially for women. Um, there are studies. I know people will say like, no, that's not true. For me, I know my body doesn't respond to HIIT workouts. It raises my cortisol levels, and I will personally gain weight if I focus on HIIT workouts all the time. The great thing about lifting weights is that when you're done, your body is still burning calories. Whereas if you run on a treadmill, you'll burn calories during that, half hour that you're doing it. But as soon as you stop, it stops. But when you're building muscle, you're burning fat. And as far as longevity, lifting weights to me is the best option.
Yeah, it's funny how everybody's different. Listen, when I run, and that's why I want to get back to running, I shred weight like crazy. I mean,
Yeah.
So in HIIT workouts, I do them, but I don't really get the benefits.
Yep.
And even walking, I mean, it takes me a longer time, obviously, but I don't know, everybody's different. But when I'm running, that's why I really, really want to get back to it. It just melts off of me. So I guess that's how
No,
your body responds.
everyone is different. Everyone is definitely different. I think that everyone should kind of try, like, everything and do what works for them. Yoga is also a huge part of my life. Yoga is really good for your mental health. It's really good for your body to just like stretch and put your body at peace. And I try to incorporate that also, at least once a week, whether that's just like a class or doing it at home or something like that. But for me, for my personal schedule, I try to work out 4 to 5 times a week, and I try to walk almost every day.
And I mean, your walks, how long are they? Half an hour, 45 minutes, an hour? How long do you walk?
Usually a half hour. I guess it kind of depends on the day. I like using my walks to educate myself, whether that's like listening to a podcast or listening to an audiobook. So sometimes I'll wait until the podcast is over. It really just depends on what my day is, but I do get at least a half hour in.
Very good. Very good. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you coming. I want to be respectful of your time here.
Yeah.
So what else? Final question here. There's a ton of questions coming in about ancient grains and all this kind of stuff. Let's see. Pros and cons of swimming versus running. Swimming, definitely. Listen, if I could swim, I can swim physically, but there's just no place to do it. I'm not going down to downtown Waterbury. I just don't want to fight traffic to get in and out. I just don't want to do that. So,
No.
but if there was a pool, like they used to open up the pools in the summertime to,
Yep.
when I was a kid, you used to be able to go in the pools at the schools and the high schools, Crosby and Kennedy and all that. And I live right down the street from Crosby. And if they would open up the pools, we could go swimming. I would definitely do that every day. But anyway, so I want to ask you, what else do you do for mental health? You mentioned yoga. Do you anything, listen to podcasts? What else do you do for your overall wellness? And we'll leave it off there. What else do you do?
I'm really big into self-care. Self-care it's important to me. I love having my nails done. I love tattoos. That's part of my self-care routine. And just doing the things that make me feel good. And I think that's different for everybody. Making sure that I plan, a date night with my fiance that's just me and him, and we can kind of like disconnect from the world and the kids and stuff like that, and just really like focus on us. Doing yoga, walking, listening to podcasts that are both informational and entertaining. Reading is really good for your brain. Just, I try to do anything that makes me happy and just makes me feel good.
Very good. I appreciate that. I tend to lie a lot. I said it was going to be the last question. So, what did you do? These ladies want to hear this. What is it that you did to make your soon to be husband, your fiance, pop the question here? What kind of magic spell did you put on him? How did you meet him? What did you do? How did you trick him to get this man to propose to you? What did you do?
Um, to make a really long story short, Aaron and I have known each other for 16 years. We've been friends for 16 years. It's been a roller coaster of a relationship and emotions and everything. But we have been for the last about 7 years really like focusing on having a healthy relationship. But 5 years ago, he got into a really bad car accident where he completely lost his vision at 40 years old. And I think, he was in the hospital, he was in a coma, he had
Oh wow.
brain surgeries and everything. And I think that for him, and me, I guess it kind of just like solidified our love and our relationship. And we were kind of just done like with the back and forth and things like that. And it's kind of when I think a little before that, our relationship had, taken a turn, but we've just always, it was a love story. I feel like we've always loved each other and we were always meant to be together, but our timing was never right. And our timing is right now. And, he has 4 kids. 2 of them work for me at the blender bar. 3, if you want to include an 8-year-old who thinks that she is also the boss. But, I kind of, I came into this family and I didn't really miss a beat. And I think that really kind of like proved something to him. And he loves me. So yeah, he just popped the question and I'm really excited about that.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. So
Thank
I
you.
better be getting an invite as much money as I spend in there. So
Yeah, no, absolutely. We may be
um,
going to Puerto Rico, so if we do a destination, you'll be able to do a little vacationing too.
sounds good. Sounds good. Definitely. Chris, thank you so much for joining in. Yeah, that's definitely a story there. So thank you so much for joining in. If you guys are in the Connecticut area, make sure you check out her store, which is in Cheshire, the Blended Bar. And my daughter actually introduced me to your because we went there to get a bowl, to get to one of the acai bowls. She's like, "Oh, let's go to this space," and I've been going there ever since. So, so
Yes.
I appreciate it. Yeah. So thank you so much. Yeah. We can't wait to see some wedding pictures there. So thank you so much for joining in. I'm going to go get some lunch right now. So you guys know where I'm going for lunch. So if you want, you can let me hold some dollars here so I can pay Lindsay so she can feed me and all that kind of good stuff.
If
So
anybody is listening right now and they get to the blender bar today, then lunch is on us. So you ask for Sage, who is my manager, and one of my very best friends. She helps me run my business. And you go tell Sage that Lindsay and Lawrence said that lunch is on us today.
okay, great. I'm going to tell them that. Lawrence said the lunch is on you guys today.
Yeah, Lawrence, you go in and tell Sage that I said that lunch is on us today.
Okay. But anybody else, I know Chris is in the Connecticut area, so anybody else. So, and I do appreciate, you stepping out on, in my church vernacular there, stepping out on faith and then starting, the business. And it takes a lot of guts to do that. And I think a lot more people need to do exactly that. People are unhappy in their jobs. They're unhappy, with the daily grind and they're just sick of it. And so, have something else. I was telling my daughter this just the other day, that, she's still working on her degree. She's got her associate's now. She wants to go back for a bachelor's. And I'm like, listen, that's great. You're going to get your bachelor's, but you got to get something else that's going to help you, that you can fall back on, that's going to pay you, whatever you're enjoying, a hobby, whatever, figure out how to monetize that and enjoy your life. That's one thing that the younger generation is figuring out, is how to enjoy life and how to make the most of it, and stop sitting in some air-conditioned office in some cubicle where they're telling you when you can go to lunch and when you can
Yeah,
go on vacation. That
it's
is
not worth
unacceptable.
it. It's
It's
not
not.
worth it.
Yeah, it's
No.
definitely. So people ask me, and I was making good money at this job. They made me the
Yeah.
program director of in the business school of the MBA. I can't do this anymore. It's good money. You're not going to tell me. You're not going to tell me how to live and all that kind of stuff. So
Good money does not equal happiness for
absolutely,
everybody. So
absolutely, absolutely. All right, y'all. Make sure you hit the like button on your way out. If you're in the Connecticut area, stop by Lindsay's Blended Bar. I do appreciate it. Thank you so much for coming on. I will see you guys later. Take care. Much love and peace.